So this old thing's been off the road for way too long now. I think it's about time we got it sorted and back on the road. It's booked in for paint, so before it goes over for paint, we're gonna pull the engine out. If you saw the video previously where we found out the head gasket had failed, you'll also know it's developed a bit of a knock. So we're gonna strip this engine down, see if we can figure out what's wrong with it, clean everything up, rebuild it with new parts, put it back in the freshly painted Pontiac, and get it back on the road. So it's going to be a pretty basic job to pull this out. It should only take me a couple hours. Certainly old school, but any rear wheel drive car this method will apply to. It's pretty, like I said, pretty straightforward. First thing we're going to do is jack it up, support it on axle stands, and then we're going to drain fluids out. While that's all draining out, next step is probably going to be getting access to the engine so we can get the engine crane in. So this whole front panel has to come off. So we've got lights, grille, bumper. I don't know how it comes out, so I'm going to have a look around, find the screws, undo them all, and then we should be able to get rid of all of this here, the whole radiator, slam panel. Battery can come out, which means then once we do come to lifting the engine crane can come all the way forwards, which should make life a little bit easier. So, front end is off. Next step, let's get rid of some of the wiring. So this engine is quite simple. We've got this one singular loom that comes through here and then runs around the back, goes in the bulkhead there. There will probably be other little wires connected, you can see some down there for the distributor. But what I'm going to do is remove some of these hoses for access, undo the wiring and just tuck it right out of the way. I do need to tidy up some of this because this looks horrific. There's a lot of things that have been added on this car, like the electric windows, and this is the wiring for that, so we're going to tidy that up when we put it all back together. But yeah, let's get rid of this loom and start getting ready to pull the engine out. Right, now all of the wiring is out the way, it's all down here. I will need to tidy this up, like I said, before the engine goes back in. Plenty of time to do that. I've got the kickdown cable is disconnected, throttle cable I've just got to unclip from that bracket there. Starter motor's off, so all that's left really, I think there's a few bits underneath. Bell housing bolts, torque converter to flex plate, engine mounts, exhaust manifold or downpipe. That should be all. And then we can get to lifting this thing out. Oh well, I've reached my first proper hiccup. So my original plan was to unbolt the torque converter from the flex plate, pull the engine out, leave the torque converter with the gearbox, leave the gearbox in. Later on, take the gearbox out and sort it out, rebuild, replace gaskets and whatnot. That's changed slightly. I can't get the torque converter bolts undone. They are tight. So the new plan is to take the transmission out with the engine. So if I come under here, I'll show you what I'm going to do. Now, as you can see, my transmission is leaking badly. This rag is all that's stopping this. This was a trail all the way over there, and you can see there's still a puddle by my rear wheel. So it's a bad leak, and put some light on. So the plan now is, it looks like it's a sliding joint into the back of the gearbox, the prop shaft of the gearbox, so I'm not too worried about that. I've got a mount there, so I should be able to just undo the mount, and I think everything should just comes straight out. I don't think there's anything else connected. I think everything else I've disconnected from the car. No, Speedo. I will need to disconnect the Speedo cable. And because the Speedo cable comes through the bulkhead here. I think it's this, no, it's not that one. No, it's there. It's this one here. So I'll probably be able to pull the engine and gearbox forwards, rest the transmission. There's enough flex that I can rest the transmission, and then I can sort that out so I'm not crawling around underneath. So, yeah, exhaust manifolds are off. All the cables are off. I haven't done the engine mounts yet, so I think it's just going to be that transmission mount, the engine, support the engine mount. Now the engine mounts, I'm going to just unbolt from here and hopefully be able to lift the whole thing up. These are a bit of a sod to get to because the bolts heads go through here. So I'm going to try and undo just these two, that one there and there's one there on that side. And hopefully that will give me enough clearance to lift the engine up and clear those mounts. If not, I'll undo these brackets. I think there's 3 bolts around going into the block. Can't quite see that side, but I think there's 3 bolts. And I can undo those, take that whole bracket out, and that should give us enough room. But I think we are nearly ready to lift out.